Hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Cynthia if you're new here, and today I really just want to talk about the books that I read in May. May was a very interesting month. I started the Legends of Thezmarr series by Helen Scheurer, and that's also how I ended May. I got swept up into an epic fantasy romance and didn't want to come back, to be honest, so let's chat about it. Okay, so before I get into the Legends of Thezmarr series by Helen Scheurer, I did listen to Wicked is the Reaper by Nisha Tuli, which is a steamy fantasy romance novella. So our main character, Rowan, is a princess, and opening the book, we are on the day of the hunt, which is where the suitor to bring Rowan's father, the king, the biggest stag, wins Rowan's hand in marriage. Rowan believes that her best friend, whose name I did not write down, will be winning the hunt and she will be marrying him. And she's kind of convinced herself that even though, it's kind of a marriage of convenience, that they could grow to love each other and they could have eventually a passionate loving marriage. But Rowan's plans are thwarted when the Reaper is the one to present the largest stag to the king, and because the king has decided that he can't break his own rules, the Reaper goes off with Rowan, and that is where our short story truly begins. This is a book I listened to as an audiobook, and I don't regret it. The narrator wasn't the best. I still sometimes hear it in the back of my mind, the narrator going, "Shut up," as the Reaper, and it was a little tough. It was a little tough to get through at some points, but this book was very, very dirty. This book reminded me quite a bit of Viciously Yours by Jamie Applegate Hunter, which I read in April and is in my April reading recap, which I will link up here for you to check out if you so please. But this book was very, very general, I guess you could say. There weren't a lot of twists and turns. It was very like I knew what was going to happen a mile away. It was very obvious what was going on, and there was a semblance of a plot. It kind of lingered in the background, but it definitely was not the forefront of this story. Rowan and the Reaper really take center stage in this book, as they should. It is their book. I don't know. It was a novella. It feels really stupid to say I wanted more, but I did. Because I feel like this story had a lot of promise, and I felt like the little bit of plot we did get was actually strong enough to be kind of stretched out a little bit more. And if this book had maybe 100 more pages to it, I think I would have really loved it a lot more. The chemistry at first was a little weird between Rowan and the Reaper, and I wasn't truly like invested. By the end of the story, I was like, all right, I'm pretty in, I'm pretty invested. It was a novella. What can I say? It was a nice, bite-sized, spicy fantasy romance. So if you like spicy fantasy romance, I really think you will like Wicked as the Reaper. I also believe it's a retelling. I believe of Beauty and the Beast. I have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it's also a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, which is not a bad retelling, but I kind of dislike when authors tell me that it's a retelling because then I can't stop thinking about the original versus thinking about their story as its own, like, whatever. So that's more of a me thing than it is like a complaint or anything like that. But a solid 3 stars out of 5 stars for Wicked as the Reaper, because while there were some things I didn't really like, and I didn't necessarily like how short it was, I think for a novella, it packed its punch. It did it well. There was a lot of great smut. And yeah, I don't really have too many more thoughts on it if I'm being honest. I will also just say about Wicked as the Reaper, if you do listen to this book as an audiobook, I would not listen to it at work. It was very, very awkward to like sit at my desk with my AirPods in listening to what Reaper was doing to Rowan. It was very, very awkward. Very, very awkward. So I wouldn't suggest it in that capacity, but I mean, if you're just like at home chilling out and you want to spend a night devouring this book because it is a pretty quick read, it's a novella. I believe the audiobook was 4 hours. It was very short. Then have fun. Like you're gonna have a great time. If you're looking for something that you can listen to or read to in public, you might want to skip this one. Okay, we're finally going on to what feels like the meat and bones of this video. The Legends of Thezmarr series by Helen Scheurer currently has 3 books out, with the 4th coming out at the end of June 2024, at the end of this month. So if you're watching this video at the time of its publication, at the end of this month. But this book was recommended to me in a newsletter from LJ Andrews where she talks about her books and things like that. Towards the bottom, LJ Andrews talked about how much she enjoyed Blood and Steel. And I was like, you know what? I really enjoyed the Everseas series by L.J. Andrews. Why don't I read Blood and Steel next? And I was not prepared, okay? I was not prepared to spend May, my birthday month, completely enveloped in this epic fantasy romance. So let's talk about the first one, Blood and Steel. I'm gonna hold my phone up because I was trying to read from it, look at the camera, and recite the line, and it wasn't working, so I'm just gonna hold it. But in Blood and Steel, we meet Althea Zaltair, who I will refer to as Thea from here on out, and she only has 3 years to become the warrior that she knows she is destined to be, and in a world where women are forbidden from wielding blades, Thea has been forced to train in secret. But when the opportunity to petition for her right to train becomes a possibility, Thea takes it and she is granted the right to train. And it is during this training that Thea also has to fight her growing attraction to her unwilling chaperone war sword, Wilder Hawthorne. I spent a month with Wilder and Thea. I spent a month watching them fall in love, watching them have disagreements, watching them get torn apart, watching them come back together. And I will say that I love them. They are one of my favorite book pairings because they're both equal parts tough and raw and strong and a little scary, but they're also equal parts sweet and passionate and loving and caring. And I just love them so much. There was also a little bit of lore in this book. You could kind of tell that things were building to something else. But I think what I really loved in this book is that Helen Scheurer really reined it in. And she said, no, we're setting up the world in this book. We're not going to confuse you with any other details, with anything else. And I really, really appreciated that because I think sometimes authors get a little ahead of themselves and they get so excited to share what's coming up and what's going to happen that I think they forget that we really just need a good introduction. And this was a very good introduction. Blood and Steel also has my absolute favorite cast of side characters. I thought I loved the inner circle from ACOTAR. Oh no. Oh no. They have nothing on Cal and Kip. Let me tell you, every scene that Cal and Kip are in, I am dying of laughter. They are so funny, and I love the friendship that they have with Thea. I wasn't expecting their friendship to be my absolute favorite part of not even just the book, but this series. Like Cal, Kip, and Thea, if there was just a book on the three of them, going on an adventure, I would read it because I love them so much, and I love their friendship. There also is a lot of great, slow burn and tension. I wouldn't say this is enemies to lovers. This is very much more like mentoree, mentor apprentice type of lovers, I guess, which I didn't really think I would like because I feel like there's a very slippery slope when it comes to mentors and apprentices. But I think Helen Scheurer did it really well, and I really had a nice time. There is a spicy scene in this book. There's a lot of lead up to the spicy scene in this book. And in terms of peppers, I'd probably give this 3 peppers out of 5 peppers because it does lead up to the scene, but it's not over the top. It's very nicely done, in my opinion. And we do also get bonus chapters from Wilder's point of view, which is very nice. But the emails are kind of weird because the author, Helen Scheurer, is like, did you like that? Do you want more? And I'm like, I feel kind of icky now. I feel kind of icky for liking this so much. All in all, 4.5 stars out of 5 stars for Blood and Steel because it was a very, very good introduction to the series. It was a very good foundation set for the rest of the series. It had my absolute favorite cast of side characters ever, and I will recommend this book just forever. I loved this book. Okay, so I had so much fun reading Blood and Steel. I couldn't wait to get my hands on the second book, which is Vows and Ruins by Helen Scheurer. So, in Vows and Ruins by Helen Scheurer, which is the second book of the Legends of Thezmarr series, Thea has emerged a champion, but nothing is truly as it seems. As Thea and Wilder navigate their complicated feelings, war is brewing and darker forces are at play. Keeping it short, because I do want to do a longer review video on this series once the 4th book comes out. So I'm trying to pace myself. But this book suffers from what I like to call. Actually, I don't have a name for it. I'm just going to make something up and just say that that's what I call it. But this book really suffers from secondhand steam, where the first book isn't steamy enough. So people complain, the author sees it. And then the second book is just smut. What plot? I don't know what you're talking about. There's none of that here. And I think Vows and Ruins is definitely a victim of people thinking there wasn't enough spice in the first book, and so Helen Scheurer adding so much spice in the second book. It was a little bit too much, if I'm being honest, and this is one of those cases where I actually wanted more of the plot. Like there are other things going on, like a lot of darker things and things that we don't know yet, because even though we do get Wilder's POV, he's a very like reclusive guy. We get a lot more from Thea about what's going on than we do Wilder, even though we have his POV, which I find really interesting and I didn't really think of till now. But this book has so much spice. Like if I was doing a chili pepper rating, I'd probably do like 4.5 chili peppers out of 5. If Blood and Steel was steamy, then Vows and Ruins is spicy. I did find Wilder and Thea to be a little bit frustrating at times. I kind of started to notice a pattern between the second and the third book where we open and Thea and Wilder are just completely at odds with each other. And I'm like, this is going to get annoying. But it is what it is because when they do make up, it ends up being worth it. This book did feel a little bit standard though in terms of the plot twists and who the actual villain was. Like, I wasn't really surprised. I think when like the big reveal on who the villain really was, I was like, oh, yeah. Which I don't know. It didn't really bother me because at the same time, these books really are a good mixture of plot and character driven. And Vows and Ruins is just a really great continuation of Blood and Steel, where Blood and Steel really sets up this series. Vows and Ruins really starts to dig in with the world building, and we get, more background on Thea and her sister Ren, and we get introduced to some new characters. And usually I'm a little bit hesitant when new characters are brought in into like the second and third books in a series, just because sometimes it ruins it. And I don't know, I'm not too big of a fan of it, but in this instance, I actually really liked it. Helen Scheurer has a really great ability to write characters and give them good senses of like humor. And so between Cal and Kip and like this new cast of characters we get introduced to, like I was in such a chokehold with these characters. I can't. But I was, like I said, a little bit frustrated with all of the spice. It just felt like way too much. And I kind of wish it had been like tapered down a little bit because we really didn't need that much. Like, this is an epic fantasy. It doesn't also have to have all of this spice thrown in. I think you can have epic fantasy romance, like with epic fantasy and epic romance elements without having so much spice to kind of interrupt everything else that is going on in the book. But overall, a solid 4 stars out of 5 stars because even though I enjoyed this one, it wasn't my favorite. I thought the spice was a little over the top, which I've probably said like 8 times now. And I really just kind of wanted a little bit more plot. I think we could have used a lot more of that. Okay, so in the third book of the Legends of Thezmarr series by Helen Scheurer, which is Fates and Furies, darkness has begun to loom even closer, and Thea is desperate for vengeance. After being betrayed by Wilder, Thea hunts him throughout the kingdoms, with Cal and Kip at her side. But when they finally collide, Thea will finally have to make a decision about her new truth. This book is a little complicated for me because as much as I enjoyed it, I also kind of disliked it. I think it would be easiest to say that I disliked the beginning, but I really enjoyed the ending. And not because it was over, because I have said that about a few books. But in this instance, there were a lot of growth moments with Thea towards the end. And those were moments that I found that I really, really enjoyed a lot more than the earlier moments with Wilder, where he's revealing the truth to Thea. And I think that's because his attitude is like, well, you love me. You're supposed to believe me. Like, he doesn't apologize. And I didn't expect Wilder to apologize. It's not in his nature. I think it'd be out of character for him to apologize. But I just didn't really like that he assumed that because Thea loved him, that she would just blindly believe him because she loved him. It kind of got on my nerves, if I'm being a little honest, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And that might just be a me thing, but I don't know because the characters weren't acting out of character. Like, I think Thea's anger was completely justified for the position she was in. And I think Wilder's kind of, well, you should believe me because you love me and we love each other. And, I think his attitude towards everything was very believable for his character, but it was also incredibly frustrating. And for the first time, I actually felt really bad for Cal and Kip because they are so loyal to Thea. And she is just straight on this path of revenge. That's it. That's all she wants. She wants vengeance. She's not really caring about anything else. And I really felt bad for Cal and Kip because even through all this, like they still persevered with that humor and they were still cracking jokes. And I still just, every scene they were in had me in such a chokehold. Like I still loved them throughout this book. And then as we kind of get deeper into the book, more is revealed. Thea and Wilder, I feel like really solidify their relationship in this book. And by that, I mean like I don't think anything is gonna break them up in the next book. I feel very certain that like this is it. They've had their moment, they're solid, we're good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to worry about like a fourth act breakup. Like, it's not happening here. And honestly, everything with the plot just continues to build up so nicely that I can't wait for the fourth book. Like, I cannot wait for the fourth book. I almost wish I had read these books in June so that way I could have finished the third book and then opened the fourth book right after. But to be honest, it is nice to have a little bit of a palate cleanser in between because as much as I loved Wilder and Thea, I did want to like step back for a moment and really just like soak in the story that I had read because these books are really, really good and I've really, really enjoyed them so far. And like I said, I really loved the ending of this book. I really loved, yeah, I can't wait to see what happens with Wilder because that, like, I did not see that coming. But I just love the growth for Thea. I love that she goes through what she goes through. I don't want to spoil anything, but I love that she goes through what she goes through. And I love that we see her not get exactly what we want, but even like what she wants doesn't turn out to be what she always thought she wanted. And I loved it. I loved it so much. And I thought it was such a great part of Thea's like character arc. And I want to go back and reread it. I guess you could say that this book so far in the series is probably my favorite book of the three. I can't speak on the fourth yet. That will probably be my favorite book because, you know, everything will get wrapped up really nicely. But I genuinely enjoyed this book probably a little bit more than the others. And like I said, I'm so excited to continue on with this series. So a solid 4.5 stars out of 5 stars for Fates and Furies by Helen Scheurer because just like Blood and Steel, I had a fantastic time and I cannot wait for the fourth book like I've probably said a million times now. But yeah, there you have it. All in all, May was a very good month of reading in my opinion. I really enjoyed diving into the Legends of Thezmarr and even though I wasn't planning on reading Wicked as the Reaper, it was interesting. But I'm very, very excited because towards the end of June, I have quite a few books. I have quite a few series that I've started that have the last books coming out. I'm very, very excited. A few that come to mind that I wrote down is the third book in the Eversea series by L.J. Andrews and the fourth book in the Kingdom of Lies series by Stasia Stark, as well as the fourth book in the Legends of Thezmarr series by Helen Scheurer, which I just talked about. And so I'm really, really excited. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with myself until then. But I figure before I do the outro, let me tell you what I'm currently reading because I'm kind of excited about what I'm currently reading. So currently I am reading Powerful by Lauren Roberts. I will also have a vlog to accompany me reading that book like I did with Powerless. I also didn't hate Powerless, but I feel like at this point I'm invested. And if you read Powerless, Adina deserved better. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. And if that is a spoiler, then I am so sorry. But she did. But this is Adina's story. It's about what she went through while Pei is in the trials, which are the events that take place in Powerless. So these two books do technically take place at the same time. They're just two different stories from two different characters, and I'm very, very excited. There also is a love interest. I'm not that far into it. It's a very short book. I'm about 30% into it, and Lauren Roberts has a type. I mean, as do we all. Shadow Daddy. But Mac is your standard, you know, dark, broody, I don't like anyone but her kind of character. But I also do like that Lauren Roberts expands on the powers in this book a little bit because that was something I really did not understand in the first book. And now she's given us lists. She's talking about it more in depth. And I'm like, all right. I guess we all collectively just complain too much. And so she has graced us with this. But I don't want to say too much else. But so far, I am enjoying it. So far, I'm enjoying it. And I am also currently reading an art copy of A Dream of Blood and Magic by Olivia Booth. So thank you to Olivia Booth for reaching out and sending me a copy. I am not too far into this book. I'm not going to lie, I've been dragging my feet. I had a week off from work. I used PTO and I've just been dragging my feet with getting back into the swing of things. But from what I have read so far, I like it. Olivia Booth describes it as a mixture between Underworld, the movie franchise series, with A Kingdom of the Wicked series by Carrie Maniscalco. And those are two things that I very thoroughly enjoyed. So I'm very excited to see where this book ends up. And that's pretty much it for what I'm currently reading right now. I haven't yet started anything else. I really want to. I really want to finish these two before I start anything else. But yeah, those are what I am currently reading, and I think that's about it. But yeah, that's about it. May was a very good month of reading. It was also my birthday month, like I said, and I don't really have anything else to add. The Legends of Thezmarr is a fantastic epic fantasy romance series. If you are looking for an epic fantasy romance series, it is also on Kindle Unlimited, which is even better. I read all three books on my Kindle. It was fantastic. And Wicked is the Reaper, I would only really recommend if you like either novellas or you like very, very spicy fantasy romance. Like if you read Viciously Yours by Jamie Applegate Hunter, I think you would like Wicked is the Reaper by Nisha J. Tuli. They're both kind of in the same vein, if I'm being honest. Although Viciously Yours is a little dirtier than Wicked is the Reaper. Wicked is the Reaper is very steamy. Viciously Yours is I will leave it at that because there are things that I absolutely cannot say. But that's about it. That's all I got. I'm kind of all talked out. Like I said, May was a good month. I really enjoyed the Legends of Thezmarr series and Wicked is the Reaper. I definitely recommend all four books. As always, thank you so much for watching. Bye.